Lovely, perfect. A very good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining me today on this Client Management Masterclass. As always, my name is Chris and I'm one of the content and training specialists here at Shortcuts. So as a lot of you will know, we run these masterclasses at least once a week. So for those of you that are joining me on your first ever masterclass, hopefully you'll be able to join me on the journey throughout. As I say, we do these at least once a week. Today and next week, we are actually doing 2 a week. So we do have one later on at 2:30, which is going to be going through increasing salon revenue. So we're going to be covering on things like clubs, upfront payments, and things like that later on. So hopefully you can all join me for that one later on. But of course, for this morning, client management. Now, the reason we've done this is I speak to a lot of people sort of all day, every day. And a lot of the times I see a few things that we could very easily tweak just to make your life that little bit easier. And that's really what we're all about here. We want to make your life easier. So we're going to run through some things today that are really quite simple to do, some simple techniques and some simple changes. But ultimately for GDPR and things like that, we really should sort of have set up. So that's one of the things that we're going to be running through for this morning, quite a few important little things like that. So if this is your first time on one of my masterclasses, there is a little bit of housekeeping just before we begin. So the duration of this class, it's going to be approximately 60 minutes. I know some of you may be joining me before you start work or in between clients, so we do try to keep it within 60 minutes there. My microphone is switched on, whereas everyone else has automatically been muted. And of course, your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar. Questions will be taken throughout or at the end with our interactive Q&A session. So I always say, if you want to unmute yourself, if you want to chat with me, that's perfectly fine. Feel free to do so. No issues there whatsoever. But we will always have a dedicated Q&A session at the end as well. Now, as always, I am hopeful that I will manage to cover just about everything for you this morning. Now, as I said, if you've been on my masterclasses before, we typically have a PowerPoint presentation followed by a live demonstration. And all of the ones I've done for really the last sort of month, we've tried to get as much detail in as possible. So I've kind of moved away from the PowerPoint presentations and I've made it all live and interactive. And this morning's, ladies and gents, is no different. So before we get started with our live demonstration, just one extra thing. If you do want to chat with me further, please feel free to drop me an email at education@shortcuts.co.uk. That's education@shortcuts.co.uk. And you can sign up to future classes. Some of you would have received an invite from me. Some of you may have also received an invite from our marketing company. But you can also sign up through our website at shortcuts.co.uk/online-classes. That's www.shortcuts.co.uk/online-classes to see all my future classes. We will also be advertising them on our social media pages. So please do make sure you give us a follow, give us a like, give us a shout out on our Instagrams and our Facebooks. That's at Shortcuts UK. So Instagram.com, Facebook.com/Shortcuts UK. Now, we will also be advertising our tips and tricks throughout the weeks and over the months. So any of my top tips, I will be adding those in there as well. So without further ado, ladies and gents, we are going to jump straight into our live demonstration. And for this, I am going to start by opening up my Shortcuts Fusion system. Excellent stuff there. So I've inputted and opened up my Shortcuts Fusion system. Now, the first thing we are going to get started with this morning, ladies and gents, is GDPR, all to do with data privacy and data protection. Now, of course, we are going to be taking a lot of client data, things like first name, last name, phone number, email address, refreshments, all sorts of useful information like that. So it is always worth ensuring that our clients are made aware of this. Now, at the same time, clients can also request this information from you. So it may be you have their first and their last name, a phone number, an email, anything like that. Clients can request this information. So it is always a good idea to ensure your GDPR policy is up to date. Now, you should already have a GDPR policy in your Shortcuts system, but it is worth just triple checking it is up to date. And it's also worth checking that the request email address is up to date as well. Because if a client does request their GDPR data, you will be sent an email. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, nice and simple to get the ball rolling, ladies and gents, we are going to click onto Setup on our navigation bar. And from here, we are going to click onto Configuration. Now, on the left-hand side, we are going to click onto General in the bottom left-hand corner. And then from here, we are going to click onto Data Privacy. Now, from here at the top, it is always worth just double checking. We have a Data Privacy Officer email, or at least the email address we have up there is up to date and is in use. So then, what is a Data Privacy Officer email? Well, if any of your clients ever request any personal data we hold on them, this is where that request is going to go to, and it is a good idea to respond within 30 days to that client. Okay, so we're just going to make sure we've got that email address correct at the top there. Underneath, we're also going to double check where it says remove a non-returning clients after. So only clients with identifiable information will be removed. So remove a non-returning client after 2 years. So I've stated in there, if a client does not return to me after 2 years, they will be removed. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to ensure they are removed promptly and efficiently. Age of consent. So we've got the age of consent down of 16 there. Now underneath, we have a data privacy policy text. Please do read through this, double check it, get legal advice if necessary, but please do double check all of the information. At the very least, a very simple and common mistake we see is not double checking this last line here, where it says after 2 years. Please make sure the years here coincide with your years at the top here. And then just read through it, double check all of the information there, make sure you're happy with everything. And we would always recommend, ladies and gents, with this policy text just here, we would recommend printing it out, laminating it, popping it somewhere in the salon. Now, the reason we do this, if a client should come into your salon and want to read all of your data privacy text or your GDPR policy text, it is always worth having that information to hand. So you can print it out, laminate it, pop it at the reception desk. It's something very simple, but could save us a lot of headache further on down the line. So we've got that GDPR policy in there, and we've got that data privacy officer email in there. So if a client does request any of their information that we hold of them, you will be sent an email to this email address just here. What I would also recommend we do, ladies and gents, is in exactly the same screen here on the left-hand side, we can see there is an option that says clients. So if we click onto clients, and then at the top, we are going to jump back to this screen, but what I want to do is just go to the 4th tab along the top here, where it says new client layout. Now, a new client layout is the layout of the data visible when we are making an appointment for a new client. So when we click that new client icon, when we're making that brand new appointment for that brand new client, this is the data that will appear. Now, we are going to get back to this because I do want to fine tune this. But just while we are talking about GDPR, what I would recommend everyone do, ladies and gents, is scroll right down to the bottom. And you will see we have this information just here. We've got the privacy policy. It should be right down the bottom. And you can see here, we've got data privacy policy display. And you will see we have a column that says quick. So what is the quick column? The quick column is the information that will appear as soon as we make an appointment for that new client. It is the information we are going to take to make the process quick. So I would always recommend having the data privacy policy display in both quick and detailed. And I would also recommend underneath having the tick box for accept data privacy policy display. So of course, what does that mean? So we've just looked at our data privacy policy display and we said about printing it out, laminating it and pop it in the salon. But what about if we've got a client on the phone that is making a new appointment? That is a brand new client. They're making an appointment and they happen to say to our staff member, what do you do with all of my data? What is your GDPR policy? Now, rather than having to, quickly find a laminated sheet of paper, it will be visible just here because we've got the data privacy policy display visible on the quick information. So let's take a look at that. So of course, we're going to make an appointment for a new client. So at the top, we're going to click New Client. And you can see here, this is the quick information. And then down the bottom here, click here to view the privacy policy, the age of consent just here. And this is where we can view it and accept it if necessary. So if that client does say to us, what are you doing with my privacy policy? This is where it will appear just here. Now, as we are looking at that, that is our GDPR. That's the first thing we should probably do to get the ball rolling. Just double check that data privacy policy. And of course, you can see where we can ensure it is visible on our quick display. But while I'm here, I'm going to take a look at this information because this whole masterclass isn't just about data privacy and GDPR. It's all about client management. So as we look at this information here, you can see we've got some asterisks for some mandatory information. But just looking at the columns here, it looks a little bit messy. You can see we've got address line 2. Well, where's address line 1? We can see we got home, phone, work, but we've got title down the bottom. This should be at the top. And there's a lot of information here that I maybe do or don't want, but this needs tidying up. And of course, this is all to do with, client management. You can see here, it's a bit messy. So it's understandable our employees could look at this and be like, I'm just going to take the first and last name. A lot of information here. So we can tidy it up. So why would we want to tidy this up? Well, of course, if you're OCD like me and you want it to be, nice and accurate, but that aside, aesthetics aside, it's all to do with garnering client data better. And of course, we're also looking at things like marketing. Having this information will help us to market towards our client. So of course, how can we adjust this new client layout? Well, in exactly the same way, we can go to Setup on the right-hand side of our navigation bar, and we can go to Configuration. And in the bottom left-hand corner, we've got General, and we've got Clients here. And along the top, we've got these 4 tabs. So the first one we're going to look at is Occupations. So you can see I've got some default occupations. So this is all to garner better client data. And again, why do we do this? Well, it's great for marketing and targeted marketing and things like that. So we can see we've got some occupations. Now, it's always best to keep this fairly generic because, of course, once you list, one occupation, you've kind of got to list them all. So we kind of keep it fairly generic. Home duties, professional, retired, self-employed, student, and unemployed. This will give us a better understanding of our demographics when it comes to marketing and promotions and things like that. Now, of course, if you do want to create your own occupation, we can do so just here by clicking onto the new icon. And you can simply type your own occupation in from there. At the top of the screen, we've got age groups. And again, if we hit the drop down arrow, you'll notice we have some default age groups, 0 to 15, 16 to 25, and so forth. Now, it's up to you whether you want to change this, but I feel this is fairly, generic. I think this kind of says everything we need to do. If you click onto a specific age group, you will notice there is a tick box just here that says members of this group are considered children. Okay, so if you're doing your marketing and client profiles and things like that, anyone in this age group will be classed as a child. Anyone in this age group will not be. Now, a firm favorite of mine, referrals. In my opinion, for a new client, there is never a better way to find out how a client found your business than referral options. And of course, if you've ever joined me on any of my marketing masterclasses, there is a preset ongoing referral campaign. So we would need to have that information in there. So it's always worth, again, just clicking that drop down arrow and just double checking you've got those referral options in there. Now, again, if you do need to create your own, such as, Instagram and Facebook and things like that, we can click onto that new icon down the center bottom. So again, it's a fantastic way to have better client data for things like demographics and marketing. And you'll notice our top one is another client. Okay, so that is fantastic for our marketing referral campaigns. Then, of course, we've got the fourth tab along the top where we were just a few moments ago. And that is, of course, our new client layout. And we can see that quick information there. So if I did want to take an address, I would probably have at least address line 1. I'd maybe have town, and I'd probably have postcode. Now, you will notice down here I've got things like title. Well, title should really be above first name, shouldn't it? So you'll notice we've got these multi-select tabs to the left-hand side. We can click and drag, and we should be able to just pop this towards the top. So we just click and drag and just pop that at the top there. And that will make life a little bit easier. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky. Let's just move that one down a little bit. There we go. Excellent stuff. So we've now changed the layout of our new client layout, making things a lot easier, meaning we can grab and garner better client data. Now, if you do want to play around with it down here, you can do. And you'll notice I've also got this tick box here, prompt to accept data privacy policy upon checkout. So what does that mean? As we said, we've printed out the GDPR policy. We've also got it appearing down the bottom here, but also we've got prompt to accept data privacy policy when we check out. So it's always worth just having those fields pop up. And then all we're going to do is we're going to click done, and then you'll notice as soon as we go to start to make a new client, that client information is in a much better order now. So we've now got the title at the top, we've got the first name, we've got the last name, we've got the address line, we've got the town, and we've got the postcode. We got our mobile, which is mandatory, we got our email. Now, of course, we also have our referral method. Now, we just looked at those referral methods, and as we said, there is never a better opportunity to find out how a client was referred to your salon than referral method. No point leaving it 2 or 3 appointments down the line and they can't remember. So make sure we've got that information on there, which is a fantastic way moving forward for things like marketing and just having a better understanding of your database. And that is our new client layout. So then, how can we see what kind of information we have on our clients? Because we've just looked at GDPR, we've just looked at new client layout, and how can we see then what information we have on our clients? Do we have an email? Do we have a phone number? Do we have anything like that? So what we're going to look at now is a very quick report. So if we click onto tools, and if we go onto reports, on the left-hand side, we can expand clients. And then if we go all the way down, we've got this report just here that says client profile accuracy. And then from here, we can click onto view. And we can see percentage of clients with certain data recorded. So you can see how many clients we got, just under 43% of clients with a home address, just over 50% of clients with a postcode, home phone, mobile, and so forth. So we're looking at the client data fields here. So you can see we got 56% of clients with only a mobile and just under 37% of clients with an email address. So if we're looking at marketing and ways to sort of, check client information and contact our clients, we don't have a lot of emails. Now, a lot of you will probably be thinking, well, I might want to do email marketing. So we can see we need to increase that number. And as we close off our masterclass a little bit later on, you will see a fantastic way to grab client data. So we've already looked at one way by changing the new client layout by adding in those fields such as referrals and emails and home phone numbers. But at the end, I'm going to show you another way. So we can see the information here. Then as we scroll down, you can see the different field types we've got here, such as postcode, such as mobile, email address, and so forth. So we can see we've got 76 cards, which is 56.72% of mobiles. But then what about the clients that don't have the information? Because what we can see here are the clients that do have the information. But what about the clients that don't have the information? So to the right here, you can see we've got details. So if we click onto this, we can see clients with mobile phone not specified. Now, unfortunately, we're not able to use this information for marketing or anything like that, but it may be worth just exporting this report out. I probably wouldn't print it unless it's only a few pages. Like mine, I've only got the one page, but you could export it out down the bottom here. And as we said, if it's only 1 or 2 pages, you may wish to just print this information. And then every time, for example, James comes in or Mickey comes in or Mikey or James comes in, we can say, we notice we don't have your, your mobile phone specified or anything like that. But as we said at the end, we're going to look at a fantastic way to garner extra client information, but you may just wish to just print this out just there. Excellent stuff. So going back to our GDPR. So clients will need to be opted in for marketing, for ratings and reviews and confirmations and things like that. So how do we opt them in? Of course, with their consent, we must have their consent to do so. But how can we opt them in? Now, clients can unsubscribe from marketing and they can opt themselves in when they make appointments online and things like that. But if they want to be manually opted in by us, if they phone up and say, oh, yes, I'm happy to be opted in or opted out, or maybe we just want to see how they're opted in exactly the same way, we can go to our client profile and we can see their opt-in details just here. Now, of course, we will require their consent if we are doing it on their behalf, but we can see the information that will be visible to them if they make an appointment online. So we can see we are opted in for marketing, we are opted in for confirmations, we can be opted in for loyalty and ratings and reviews. Now, just as a very handy tip, ladies and gents, as somebody did ask, when it comes to the appointment acknowledgement, that is our marketing campaign appointment acknowledgement, for a client to receive that appointment acknowledgement, they must be opted in for both marketing and confirmations. Okay, so it was a very good question. For the cloud-based marketing appointment acknowledgement, they must be opted in for both marketing and confirmations. Okay, so please bear that in mind. Other than that, this is just normal marketing, happy birthdays, new clients, we miss you, things like that. And confirmations are the confirmations for the appointment acknowledgement, plus the confirmation email that will be sent via BookMe, plus your text message reminders 1 or 2 days before. So it's a very good question, but it's always worth, just as while we're in that screen, they will need to be opted in for both. Perfect. So that's how we can see where our clients are opted in just there. So again, with a GDPR, what about if a client does request their information? So as we've said, we've got that data privacy officer email. Let's just very quickly recap for that. I know a couple of people joined us afterwards. For our data privacy policy, we go to setup and configuration, general in the bottom left, and then data privacy. So we've got that email address at the top there with our data privacy policy text underneath. So then, what about if a client does request their data? So, for instance, let's say we've got Chris here. If they do request their information, we can right-click and go down to Client Data Requested. Now you can see here the content of this request will be sent to the Data Privacy Officer at education@shortcuts.co.uk. Select how Chris, the client, wishes to receive their data, via email or via a home or mobile number. So you would choose the relevant platform, click onto that, and then you'll receive an email, and your email should look like this. Excellent stuff. So we can see this is the email just here. This report has been requested by Chris. Please check this matches the client details. And then as we scroll down, we can see their email address that they wish to receive it to there. That's the information they wish to receive. Then underneath, you can also see the client details. So this here is all of the information we have on that client. So it is always worth just double checking the information and then sending it to them. So just always check the information there, make sure everything is good, everything is up to date. Now remember, ladies and gents, we have roughly 30 days to do this. It's always best practice to do this within 30 days. As we can see, a lot of information plus any transaction history, future appointments, visit notes. So please do work through all of this information and then make sure you promptly send it to your client if they request it. And that is our GDPR. So that's our data privacy policy, double checking all of the information and then seeing when that client requests. Perfect. So we're just going to go back to our Shortcuts Fusion system. So we've looked at GDPR there, and we've looked at client data and how to garner client data better. Now, with things previously like online booking and lots of clients making lots of different appointments, we are undoubtedly going to have duplicate clients that have booked online previously. Now, we have introduced something a lot better over the last sort of 6 months that will double check the first and last name. But previously, we do understand we may have had duplicate clients every time a client made an appointment online, and also as well clerical errors in the salon. We often make duplicate clients as well. So merging clients. Now, I fully appreciate my demonstration I'm about to give it may look a little bit more simple than what you may have, but work through it each by each on a client by client basis. So we are going to look at merging our clients. So what we're going to do is we're going to click onto main and we're going to click onto clients. Now down the bottom here, we are going to click onto merge. Now you may have some clients appear like what I've got here. It is always worth, ladies and gents, wiping the slate clean. Let's start again. So in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to click onto search and it will say all existing search results will now be cleared. Are you sure you want to commence? Now, of course, if you haven't looked at this for 6 months, you're probably going to have new duplicate clients. So I'm going to start again. Okay, and we get this information here. This is what we're going to match our duplicate clients on. Now, if it was me, ladies and gents, let's start off small. Let's chip away at it. So we are first and foremost just going to match on first name and last name. Okay, you could match on first name, last name, and mobile, but I think it's always worth just double checking and going through first and last name and putting a little bit of our own spin on it. Things like double checking email, double checking phone numbers and things like that. Because, of course, you may have the first and last name correct, but they may have different mobiles, but then you may notice their email address is correct and their physical address is correct. So with that mobile ticked, it won't show those duplicate clients. So let's just start off nice and easy with first and last name. Then also down here, we've got an option, clients you visited in the last 0 to 3 months. Again, let's just chip away at it. We'll do 0 to 3 months. Then 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12, and so forth. Now, also underneath, there is this tick box just here that says perform a duplicate checking on clients previously excluded from each other. Now, in a sec, I am going to show you what it means to exclude the clients from a future search. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click search. And we can see the search identified one client with one possible duplicate record matching. Now, the trick with this, ladies and gents, is to do it by a client basis. You do have to do all clients before you can merge. So I appreciate you may be looking at this and have 60, 70, 80 or a couple hundred clients. Unfortunately, you do have to do all of the clients, okay? And with that being said, we would recommend you do this at the end of the day, okay? Now, before you do this, ladies and gents, I would always recommend you click onto tools and you just do a very quick backup. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this, if I'm being totally honest, but I always say it is always worth taking a backup before we do, like, let's say, a major change. Now, of course, the majority of your PCs will be backing up to our servers every 4 to 6 hours, but I say, do you know what? Best to err on the side of caution. Let's just take a very quick backup. Okay, and we just click onto backup and we can take a backup from there by clicking the backup now button. Or if you have an external device, such as a memory stick, popping that in and backing up to there. So just a top tip, always do this at the end of the working day or when your business is not open. Why do we do that, ladies and gents? Because depending on how many clients you've got, it could take quite a while for the system to restart. So the last thing you want to do is to be without your system. Now, a couple of things to bear in mind, ladies and gents, before we merge our clients together. We've spoken about taking a backup there. It will only merge across personal information, phone, email, and address. So what about then account payments? So if you've ever put money on people's account, these are transferred. So ladies and gents, please triple check that they are one client. They are not a duplicate client. They are not separate clients. They are one client that have just been made multiple times. Please double check that. Okay, so please make sure you double check the address, you double check the phone number, okay, because any money on account will be transferred. So the last things you want, if you've got two Chris Jameses and they are literally different people, please double check all of the information here before you merge them together, because the account payment will be transferred. Upfront payments, okay, if you're joining me later at 2:30, we're going to discuss upfront payments in a little bit more detail. But upfront payments, that is when you take a deposit via your mobile guest app or your online booking system. Upfront payments are transferred. However, in order for it to be kept, you will need to have the correct client as the master, okay? It will be kept if the client with the upfront payment is under the master client. We're going to talk more about what this master and merge means in just a sec, but the upfront payment will only be kept if it is under the master client just here. So if this client here had an upfront payment, which you can go into their profile and double check, or you can go into the client card on the right hand side and double check. In order for it to be kept, it will need to be ticked just here. So again, please make sure you're checking all of that information there. And then last but not least, for those of you using cancellation fees, cardless checkouts and things like that, or anything with a card held on file, card details are not transferred over at all. Okay, so as soon as you perform a merge, irrespective of whether they are down as master or merge or anything like that, client cards are not transferred over. So please bear that in mind if you are using cancellation fees. Those card details will be lost for the aforementioned GDPR. Okay, so that's accounts, upfront payments, and cancellation fees. Discuss that. So of course, let's get into the merging. So what do we have? We have a master. Now, a master is the one typically with the most information and the most history. Okay. Now you can usually scroll right and you can see all of the information we have on file here. We can see the last activity date. We can see the number of visits. We can see lots of information. So this is typically the master. But you can change it around if you need to. So maybe you want this one to be the master. As we said, this may have the upfront payment on it. Okay, so it is always worth just keeping an eye on that information there. Now, what you can also do, ladies and gents, is let's say for the sake of argument, this mobile number is correct, because we can see, maybe the physical address is correct. So we're making a pretty informed decision to just double check that they are the same client. But maybe we want to keep this email address because this is currently in the merge. You'll notice here, it's not in my master anymore. It's under my merge. So maybe I want to keep this valuable bit of information. Well, what we can do is we can right click and we can copy email to master. So we're going to keep that email address. Okay. Now, again, maybe we've looked at this and we've noticed the email addresses are definitely correct and the physical addresses are correct. And of course, some of you may even look at it and go, yes, I know Chris James. I know he is. We've only got the one Chris James. So we're confident. But you may look at it and see there's a slight clerical error in the mobile number. So, this one is incorrect and this one is correct. So again, we can right click and we can copy phone numbers to master. And we can now see it has replaced that incorrect mobile number there. So what is the way to do there, ladies and gents, is just to double check the information and then copy any important information over. We want to keep that physical address. We don't want that vital email address to be lost. And then once we've made that informed decision and we know they are the correct client, we can then update that phone number by, again, right-clicking and copying across to master. And then all you would do, click master and merge. These are the two that are going to be merged together. So what about them? And you would have to go through, ladies and gents, and do all of them. Master, merge, master, merge, master, merge. So what about then, ladies and gents, if we know this is two separate clients, okay? Or maybe we're not sure. We think it's two separate clients that just share the same first and last name, but just pretending here, we notice the email addresses are incorrect and different, and we notice the phone numbers are totally different, and the addresses are completely different boroughs. So we feel it's a common name, and we know they're two separate clients. We've made an informed decision. We don't want to merge them. So please ensure there is no tick box in either. Okay, so even if there's one, please ensure if you do not want to merge them, make sure there is no tick in either. Okay, if you do not want to merge them, make sure there is no tick in either. Otherwise, you will get an error when you try to merge. But also, we have this fourth column here, future searches. Now, you may remember at the beginning it said include previously excluded searches. So we've made an informed decision that this client is two separate clients. And again, just pretending the phone number was different, the physical address was different. We are confident they are two separate clients. And we want to safeguard ourselves moving forward so we don't accidentally merge them together if we're having a bit of an off day. So what we can do is exclude these clients from future searches. And that will then safeguard us moving forward to ensure we don't accidentally include them in a future search and then go, oh yeah, they must be the same client, and then we accidentally merge them together. So we are taking the proper and correct steps to ensure we don't make that mistake. Now, once you've unticked all of the ones you don't want to merge, and once you've ticked the master and merge and double check the client history, double check the client profile and the client card to make sure we're not going to lose any upfront payments, and we are happy they are the one client. What we then do is we click merge in the bottom right hand corner. And it will then say, please ensure all master client profiles are up to date before proceeding. Okay, because you can see this information will not be merged. Client merge should only be performed outside business hours. Client merge will remove any sensitive information of the master client, such as stored payment cards, we can see there. All other terminals will be forcibly shut down before continuing. Proceed to shut down any other terminals and merge client transactions now. So we could click the yes icon just there. Now, as I said, depending on how many clients we merge together, it could take 5 minutes, could take 30 minutes. So please bear that in mind just there. So what we're going to do is we're going to click yes. And it will take a few minutes there to just shut this terminal down. Excellent stuff. So you can now see the client merge has been performed successfully. And if we go across the clients on the right hand side, and if we search for our client Chris James, I believe it was, there we can see there, and we can see because he was under the master, that account payment has been transferred. So we don't lose that account payment there. So the account payment has been transferred across. So we didn't lose that information. Excellent stuff. And that is our client merge. Now, if you notice you've got multiple clients, all of the same name, and you're struggling to do the master and merge, it may just be worth going into the client list, potentially going into the client profile, and maybe just making some of the clients' profiles inactive, okay? Because it could be you've got 6 or 7 of the same client and you are struggling to merge them across. May just be worth just double checking the history and then just making that particular client inactive. Okay, so as we've got just over 15 minutes left, ladies and gents, we've looked at different ways to capture client data, ensuring our new client layout is completely up to date and in a correct order. But how can we get clients to fill out this information? Now, we have a fantastic feature called Online CICs, Online Client Information Cards, which is a great way for clients to not only fill out their data on an iPad or a tablet or a digital device, but it is also a fantastic way to store client data. Okay, so if you are wanting to create patch test forms and skin test forms and things like that, and using paper record cards, we should really start to look at moving over to digital record cards in the way of shortcuts online CICs, which is also great for the thing we spoke about right at the beginning, GDPR. So let's take a look at, first and foremost, online CICs, online client information cards. Okay, so first and foremost, what we need to do is open up our online console. And we can navigate to our online console by navigating to our preferred internet browser and typing in console.shortcutssoftware.com. That's console.shortcutssoftware.com. Now, if you want a handy tip, you can also, on your shortcut system, once you're looking at your pin screen just here, you can click this box just here that says console login, and that will equally take you to your online console. But if not, if you just want to type in the web address, console.shortcutssoftware.com. Now, before we get started with looking at online CICs, online client information cards, the first thing we need to determine is which staff members will have access to client information cards. And it's all accessible via their normal shortcuts pin. But which staff members are going to have access to client information cards, and when will it be accessible by? So the first thing we're going to do is click onto Site Settings on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we're going to click the third option down that says Manage Employee Access. And you'll notice here we've got this tick box that says CIC Access. So whoever has the box ticked for CIC access, that means on the iPads, on the tablets, that employee can access client information cards, and it's all accessible via their normal 4-digit shortcuts pin. So all you would then do is just tick CIC access, client information card access, and then we click save on the right hand side. So that then means whoever has their tick box there, tick, they will be able to access client information cards on the tablet. So when will it be accessible? So again, if we click back and we're still under site settings here, all we're going to do is we are pretty much going to scroll right down to the bottom. And you will see we have this option just here that says client information card access. Allow access during business hours only. Allow access at all times. That would mean if we took the tablet home, we could use it as long as your main PC, your main server is switched on and connected to the internet. And we've also got allow access during business hours plus 15 minutes before, let's say, or 30, whichever you want it to be, 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after business hours, because that may be we get into work a little bit early, our client's there early, we open at 9, but they're there at 10 to, they're there at 1:45. No point saying to client, oh, we've just got to wait till 9 o'clock. Because it's accessible 15 minutes before, we can take the client information, we can take their last name, we can take their email address. And same as well, if we're running a little bit behind, we can do 15 minutes after business hours. So I'm just going to pop it back to allow access at all times, and then we're going to click save. If you are a multi-site user, you can configure this bit of information in the top right just here as well. Excellent stuff. So we're going to click onto home. Now what we're going to do, just first and foremost, ladies and gents, we are just going to pretend that we are looking at the iPad and the tablet, okay? And then we're going to talk a little bit more about getting it on the tablet in just a sec. So let's pretend we are now looking at an iPad or a tablet. In the bottom right hand corner, we're going to click onto client information. And it's this tile here in amongst all of these tiles here. So in the bottom right hand corner, we click onto client information. Then what we would do is choose the relevant site, and you'll notice a pin screen appears. Now, as we said, under manage employee access, whoever had their little box ticked, they can pop their shortcuts pin in. And this will now allow a client search within the iPad or the tablet. So the first thing we can do is search for our client just here. To the right, you can also add a brand new client in if necessary. And if we weren't searching for a client, there is this filter just here, which would show clients with Sam today. So whoever put their shortcuts pin in would show clients with Sam today. But if not, if we just search for those clients again, we can see we get all of our clients just here. Now, whichever client we look at, you will notice we have 4 grey squares. So what do these 4 grey squares do? History and notes, photos, client mode, and employee mode. Well, history and notes is an extension of your reception desk. So maybe you need to grab Chris's previous history, previous retail, or previous color notes. We can click onto history and notes, and we can see any previous services, any previous retail, or any other forms that they filled out. We can see the visit notes just here as well. We can also update their visit notes here. So again, no need to be writing information down, no need to be writing any color notes down. Again, it's much quicker, it's much neater, but again, look at that GDPR. No loose bits of paper, nothing to be lying around. Think of our green carbon footprint as well. No loose bits of paper, no wasting paper, trees, everything along those lines there. It is all stored securely. This will also update your main shortcut system. So if you were to update the client information here, if you were to add in those color notes here, it will feed back to your main shortcut system. So it's an extension of your reception desk. Again, if we click back, we've also got photographs. So again, you can upload any photographs. You can add a photograph. So you can see I've added 2 just here. This is me. One, I think it's about a year in between. I'm not sure, but these are 2 different ones that we can compare. Maybe we can see if we're doing like eyelash extensions or anything along those lines there. You can compare those photos side by side. So what you can do, you can click onto it. Oh, I didn't mean for it to open up that. I didn't know it was going to open up like that. I thought it was a slightly smaller photo. But yeah, you can click onto the select button. You can select the 2 photographs here, and then you can compare the 2 side by side just here as well. So you can then see, you know, if you're doing things like eyelash extensions, hair extensions, things like that, is a great way to compare the 2 photos side by side. And that is our client information. So again, we're going to click the back icon. And we can see here, we've got client mode and employee mode. So again, let's just very quickly recap. We have looked at ways to garner extra client information. We adjusted that new client layout. We made sure it had the referral field. We made sure it had the address field. But that's the information we take, you know, face to face or over the phone. So what about then if we want clients to check their information, you know, because we've looked at duplicate clients. We want clients to check their information. We want to double check their last name, their spelling, their phone number. But that aside, what about if we're looking for a more organic way to capture extra client data? But this then, ladies and gents, is where these 2 options appear just here. So what we would do is we would click onto client mode. And then just for the time being, please don't worry about all of these custom ones. We're going to get to that in just a sec. What we would do is choose client information form. And this will then pre-populate any information we have on that client. So then we can get them to double check the information. We can get them to change all of the information if any of it is incorrect. We can then get them to add in an email address. Now, we have found this is a much more organic way to garner extra client data. This is a much more organic way to get it. Because a client is giving that information, we tend to find they will give that email address. They will give that refreshment, that home phone number, everything. Then as we are in client mode, as we go down to the bottom, we can also click done. Now, as soon as the client clicks done, it will log the client out for security purposes. So again, we can then just pop our PIN back in. Now we do that for GDPR. Of course, we wouldn't want the client then merrily searching for another client. So then, what is the difference between client mode and employee mode? Well, if I click onto employee mode, And again, if I click onto my form here, once we've filled out all that information, and again, when we go down to the bottom, we can see the opt-in details for GDPR. We can see our data privacy policy here, again, where we started our masterclass this morning. And we've also got our age of consent down here. But in employee mode, when we click done, you will notice it doesn't log you out. Now, I would only recommend, ladies and gents, using employee mode if we are doing it on behalf of the client, because they need a little bit of assistance to do so. But please make sure any information we fill out on their behalf under employee mode, we have their full consent to do so. But that is the difference there. That is our online CICs. But some of you will be watching and thinking, well, what about my skin test forms and things like that? I've got paper copies of those. Can I create those? Yes, you will. I know a lot of you watching are on the Elevate and Elevate Plus package. But if you're not a problem. We will just need to look at getting you signed up to our Elevate or Elevate Plus package to then truly benefit from our custom CICs, our custom client information cards. So then, ladies and gents, what are they? They are creating your own client information forms, patch test forms, laser forms, skin test forms. Okay. Now, we do have dedicated masterclasses for this coming up next month, and we do have videos on our YouTube channels, but I'm just going to give you a very quick demonstration so you can get the feel of what a custom CIC will look like. So I'm not going to demonstrate in this one how to create one because we do have a masterclass for that, but there are lots of ones we've pre-created here that I can just very quickly show you. But custom CICs are fantastic if you are looking at doing away with paper record cards, which we really should be in this day and age, ladies and gents, for GDPR and things like that. It's so much more quicker and efficient filling out using online CICs. So I've created quite a few custom CICs. So again, we're going to click onto client mode. And you can see I've got lots of different ones here. So I've got this is probably quite an up-to-date one. So if I click my patch test form, these are ones I've created using custom CICs. You can put the date in there. We've got single line text. We've got a multi-line text. We can outline any medical conditions. So we can add in if we've got that. We can add in if we've got that. We can add in all sorts of information. Now, we are having a fantastic response. We've got loads of clients over the last couple of months that have really taken us up on this because they're using laser forms, for our clinics. We've got patch test forms, laser forms, tattooists, things like that. We really need to be having these digital forms. So that's where custom CICs come in. So you can see we can then sign the form on the iPad, on the tablet. You can see we got our information here. All this information pre-populates. You can fill out questions such as, do they smoke? It is completely customizable. If you are looking at this thinking, I want to go paperless, we really should be looking at custom CIC. So we just need to be in the Elevate or the Elevate Plus package. Just give our friendly customer care team a call to discuss that. Just say you want to get set up with custom CICs. That will also move you on to things like the Salon mobile guest app and other fantastic features we have. But you can see here just very quickly, all the information plus much more we can pop into a custom client information card. So how do we get this on an iPad? How do we pop it on a tablet? Because obviously we're looking at my computer screen just here. So how do we then get this information on an iPad or a tablet? So as you can see, we are really just working on an internet page. So all we need to do is open up a preferred internet browser on your iPad or your tablet. And all we need to do is pop this website URL in, console.shortcutssoftware.com/clients/search. console.shortcutssoftware.com/clients/search. What that will do is it will take you to the client search screen just here and a pin. So as soon as we open that up on an iPad and a tablet, pop your credentials in, pop your console credentials in, that will take you to the pin screen, okay? The very pin screen we saw as soon as we start searching for a client. Now, of course, it's going to be quite long-winded every time we want to type that console.shortcutssoftware.com/clients/search. It's going to be quite long-winded to keep doing that. So if you are working on an iPad, down the center bottom of the screen, you should see a square with an arrow facing upwards. You tap onto that, it is the Apple Share button, and we are looking for the Add to Home screen. So on an iPad, down the bottom, it is the Apple Share button. It is a square with an arrow facing upwards, and it is Add to Home screen. And that basically just puts it as a little shortcut, a little app, should we say. Now, remember, this isn't an app per se in the way we download it in the App Store. It's a website URL, console.shortcutsoftware.com/clients/search. Now, if you're using an Android device, such as a Samsung, there will obviously not be the Apple Share button. In your top right or your bottom right, there should be 3 lines or 3 dots, typically the menu or the settings button. And again, exactly the same way, we're just looking for that Add to Home screen. Now, because this isn't sort of a shortcuts function, shall we say, it's an Android or an Apple function. If you are struggling, as bizarre as it may sound, just pop your Apple model number into YouTube or your Android model number, Samsung Galaxy Tab, anything like that. Pop that into YouTube and just do how to add to home screen, and it should talk you through it. As we said, that is not a shortcut function. It is just a recommendation that we say for you to use to save you typing in the web address at the top there, console.shortcutsoftware.com. And that is it, ladies and gents. That is how we can manage our client data much more efficiently. So just a very quick recap from this morning. In our Shortcuts Fusion system, we went into Setup and Configuration, General, and then Data Privacy. And we double-checked our Data Privacy Officer and we double-checked our privacy information there. From there, we went to our new client layout at the top and we double-checked to make sure that the privacy policy was acceptable down the bottom and was visible down the bottom in the new client layout. From there, we also adjusted the general new client layout. Why did we do that? To ensure we are capturing as much information as neatly and efficiently as possible. We then also looked at ways to see how clients were opted in their client profile with all of the tick boxes there. We then moved to our client merge and we talked about client merging, masters, and everything like that. So last but not least, ladies and gents, just as we very much draw to a close on our client management masterclass for this morning, running system maintenance. Now, as we said in our GDPR policy, we are going to remove non-returning clients after 2 years. So we need to run system maintenance for this to happen, as well as ironing out any small bugs. It's kind of the equivalent as restarting your shortcut system, but it is always worth restarting and running system maintenance to ensure your shortcut system is running smoothly. So again, top tip, we're going to click onto tools, we're going to click onto backup, and we're going to take just a very quick backup before we do this. Then at the end of the working day, we are going to run system maintenance to iron out any of those bugs, to make sure any clients that are now non-returning will be removed as per your GDPR policy. So last but not least, at the end of the day, once we've taken a backup, we are going to run system maintenance. We're going to click main. We are going to click exit. And you'll see at the top here, it has been 1,592 days since system maintenance was last performed. Regular maintenance will keep your system running fast. So what I would recommend, once you've taken a backup at the end of the day, click run now. It will probably take quite a while, depending on how many days it has been since your last system maintenance run. But it's always worth running that to keep your system running fast and up to speed. And that is it, ladies and gents. That is our Client Management 101. Thank you ever so much for joining me. I do have a couple of questions. I'm just going to get to those now, but feel free to pop those across into the chat box. Perfect. Excellent stuff. So you may find there may be a slight pause there where I just answer some of the questions there. But if you do want to unmute yourself and have a little chat with me, feel free to. If not, you can continue popping them across in the chat box there. So yes, especially with this, ladies and gents, I do appreciate there could be a little bit of homework. So for that, I do apologize. But it is always worth doing this just to ensure your system is up to date. And, hopefully you don't ever get anyone ever request any of their GDPR policy or anything like that. But it's like anything in life. It's better to have it, be prepared. Better to have it and not need it, and need it and not have it. Another Chris saying for you there, to go with my "it's all in the details." I speak to a lot of people, and I'm sure you're all very familiar. That's one of my firm favorite sayings. But yes, a little bit of homework, but once it's done, it is done. Now, as I said, we are going to be running these masterclasses throughout August and then September and so forth. Hopefully you can join me later on at around 2:30. I know we don't usually run them in the afternoon, but we're just sort of trialing this one, all to do with increase salon revenue. It is going to be jam-packed. I'm going to squeeze in as much as humanly possible, things like upfront payments and throughout the client journey, just to really ensure we're getting as much out of our client data and salon revenue as possible. So you can join me later on at 2:30 for that, but if not, it should be on our YouTube channel within a couple of days. Lovely stuff. Any other questions for me this morning, ladies and gents? Excellent stuff. Perfect. So I think that's it for all of the questions. If you do want to chat with me further, please feel free to do so at education@shortcuts.co.uk. As we said, please do make sure you give us a follow, give us a like on our Instagram and Facebook pages. And if you do wish to sign up for any future classes, they can be done so at shortcuts.co.uk/online-classes. Now, remember, if you feel you know a salon owner or a manager that would love Shortcuts as much as you do, remember we do have a Shortcuts referral scheme, which can be discussed further with our customer care team on 0161 972 4900. Excellent stuff. So that's it for me, ladies and gents, this morning. Hopefully I'll be able to speak to you all again at 2:30 or in the future for our further masterclasses. Thank you ever so much for joining me this morning. It's been a pleasure as always. My name is Chris, and I will see you all again soon. Thank you ever so much. Bye-bye for now.